Alright, am I recording? Looks like I am recording. Let me just double check here. Sweet! Hey guys, what's going on? How you doing today? Today is Thursday, January, I don't know, some early day in January. My name is John Rodriguez, aka invAAsive on PokerStars. Back again to play in another Ugly Tuna Home Games Challenge. This will be my third night in a row of poker. The last two times that I played poker, I was able to cash, which is always fun. So, you know, when they say when you're on a little bit of a streak, you should just ride it. So I'm gonna ride it. Got some action on the first hand we're playing. I actually am sitting down probably about 45 minutes late to this tournament. We got an all-in, a call, and another call. So essentially, pretty big pot going on here, considering the size of the blinds. Players are checking it down on what looks to be a little bit of a scary board, but it looks like Fernando and Bill are just going to get it all in here. And Ace Jack sucks out on queens and aces. In an amazing fashion. That is pretty much incredible. BS Brawler in the chat already saying I hate aces. You're in the minority, sir. I love aces. I move all in with them frequently, and usually it works out. And especially when I'm up against Ace Jack, usually it works out. So just a really super bad beat for aces to lose to Ace Jack in that spot. Also, if you are holding pocket queens, it's hard to get away from your hand, and I see why Fernando would have been checking down until he sees the river, and once he sees a queen on the river, he's got to feel like he has the best hand, seeing as how he only loses to Jack 9 or Ace Jack. Well, I suppose he loses to pocket kings as well, but I guess that's a little bit hard to put somebody on when you've already hit your set. But anyways, we sat down to a super fun action hand, so I'm hoping that the table provides the same amount of action as we move along. I would normally review a hand that had 3 people all in, but I think that hand kind of plays itself out. I don't know that I necessarily like Bill's call pre-flop of this guy's all in here. BS Brawler's all in, but he's well within his rights to play his cards any way he wants. After all, this is no limit hold'em, right? So there's no limit to how much you can bet, there's no limit to how much you can call, and there's no limit to how much you can lose. So Bill is sitting pretty. We have a few players at this table that we have some notes on. I think if you've been watching some of the videos, you'll see some familiar faces. People that we've been playing against. I think it's going to be kind of fun for you guys if you are not part of Ugly Tuna's online games to, you know, take a look at some of the players that you're playing, that we're up against, and seeing some of their tendencies. These guys are like recurring characters in a cartoon. Some of the ways that they're playing. I'm going to raise it up here with Ace Jack. I think it's a pretty easy raise. Also, I have Ugly Tuna here in the big blind, so he does understand that I can be raising with pretty much any 2 cards, but he also is not in a spot right now with 2,800 chips where he needs to really worry. You would think that he'd want to maybe push some small edges, being a short stack, but essentially with 2,800 chips in the blind still at 30-60, Tuna knows about as good as anybody that he doesn't have to get crazy with his hands. He can still play extremely tight aggressive and get some of the players around him to make some pretty crazy mistakes. And speaking of crazy, we have Wired Pair Free, which is Dave Levy. Dave Levy is hands down the most aggressive player that I've ever played against on a regular basis. I have played down in casinos with people who have been drinking all day. I've also played with some people who are clearly on drugs, but Dave is a very naturally aggressive poker player. Not crazy. I shouldn't say that Dave is crazy. He knows how to play the game. He's somebody that I think plays a lot more than I do. So I give the guy a whole lot of credit, and he's found a a method to win tournaments and cash in tournaments that is a little bit different than what I play. But to be quite honest with you, anytime you have someone who's playing tight aggressive and super aggressive, I don't think that's too far off from the kind of style that we're looking to play ourselves. So if there's one person at this table, as I'm looking around the table, that I would say is probably more aggressive than I am, I would say Wired Pair is a little bit more aggressive than I am. In a close second to aggression, I would say right here, Tomb Raiders 4. That's Tom. He is a seasoned poker veteran. Tom is called for his all-in life and is losing to quads. I think we can pretty much say no matter what Tom has, he's going to lose to quads. I think he overplays his kings there. That is going to be a hand that we go over in just a couple seconds. We have seen 1, 2, 3 knockouts here in this tournament in the past 5 minutes since we've been logged on. So, and actually, Bill's been the one to do all the knocking out. So he's got to be feeling really good about his situation right now, sitting with over 3 times what the starting stack is here in this tournament. We start out this tournament with 5,000 chips. Blinds are 15 minutes long. Let's pull the lobby over real quick. Obviously, we have Bill here in the chip lead by far. Next closest would be New York Pro 53 and our old friend Lou Jagoo. Hopefully, we're able to get to 18 players and we get Lou Jagoo at our table. We have some pretty good reads on that player. Not surprised to see Bill getting active here. He's on a little bit of a heater, and you know, you can't really you can't be on a heater if you're folding, right? That's just science. You know, if you want to be on a heater, you need to be in pots. So Bill's running a pretty good heater here, and I think all of us are basically saying to ourselves, let's stay the hell out of that guy's way. Here we have 10-2, even in late position, not a hand I want to be getting involved with, but I do want to go back and take a look at the hand that Tomb Raiders 4 got knocked out with, which was the Queens versus 3s hand. So seeing as how I wasn't really paying attention to how that started, let's just take a look at how it starts. So it looks like right here we have a min raise from Tom in middle position with pocket queens. I think a lot of players are min raising, especially with annies. Even though the annies are kind of small in this spot. You know, when you have a min raise in this spot, this person's range, not just hang on a second. Looks like my computer is messing me up right now. So right now I've got a little blue arrow here. It's kind of messing me up. So until I'm in a spot where I can right now my computer's not allowing me to review the last hand. It looks like whatever's going on with my computer, it is basically slowing down. Okay, here we go. So Tom's range here can be anything from Jack 9 suited to pocket aces. I think this raise has a pocket pair very well hidden, very well disguised. So probably folds over to Bill, who calls from the button with pocket 3s. I like this call. He's got, you know, really good implied odds if he's set mining. He also has the best hand sometimes. Although pocket 3s is one of those hands that you're basically 95% of the time you're gonna the board is gonna flop 3 overs, and you're not going to like your hand or like very many flops. So you know, Bill, with the amount of chips that he has, to call 120 chips just to see if he can mine a set, obviously not a bad play. I choose not to defend here in the big blind. I think we've gone over this in a couple of videos, but just to remind you, I'm either going to be folding or raising my big blinds when they get min raised, unless I'm getting such an incredible price. You know, I think last video I had a 9-10, and I was able to get the right price to call when there was 3 or 4 people that were in on a min raise. But I digress. So I'm either folding or raising my big blinds. That's a line that I've told you I'm going to be taking. It's a line that actually Ugly Tuna knows about, so he might choose to exploit that, seeing as how he's in position when I'm in a big blind. But anyways, obviously I'm never defending here, so I end up folding, and we see a flop. Now, we already know that Bill is sitting with pocket threes, so if you can imagine the look on Bill's face when he sees this flop, and then he sees Tom put a pot-sized bet in, I just have no idea what it must feel like to see this flop, see this bet, and have this amount of chips. Mr. Dan, I think I can call here. Don't really like this flop. I think if you bet it, you better be prepared to call a raise. So I think I'm basically in check call mode. When this club comes out, I'm still in check call mode. Not quite sure if I even want to call right here. It's just very, very less than profitable. Even though I'm getting an 80 chip bet here, if Disserdan has a 2 of clubs, I'm beat. You know, the only card that actually saves me here is a 10 of clubs, a 5 of clubs, or an ace of clubs. And even an ace of clubs really doesn't save me too often, so I think I can just fold. I only have 80 chips invested, so I didn't really overplay my ace high there. And again, I have plenty of time in this tournament, so I don't want to show Disserdan that I'm going to be calling him light and giving him reasons not to believe me. I'd like to try and establish a table image while I'm sitting here. So I don't think I'm going to be speculating against someone who's going to be on my left for the rest of the tournament with just middle pair here. But anyways, Tom here makes a pot-sized bet, and I got to tell you, I mean, how can you be mad at a pot-sized bet? You know, you have pocket queens, you've made a raise pre-flop, your head's up, you see a flop like this, and you're thinking that your hand is probably ahead 95% of the time. Tuna limps. I think I'm just going to call here. I think I mentioned earlier in another video. I don't know if I even posted this last video where I mentioned it, but I think I mentioned that when I have limpers in front of me, it kind of slows me down when I want to make raises. I think Tuna checks here a lot with a 10. When Bill bets here, I think I can peel 1, and I just want to see what the other players are going to do. This bet actually is enough to thin the herd a lot of the time. This isn't really the most connected board, but we are in a limped pot here. I wouldn't be surprised to see something happen, so, you know, Tuna do something funny, but I'm trying to figure out what my odds are against exactly a 10, right? So if I'm up against exactly a 10, what are my outs? My outs are an ace, a deuce, or a 5. So I have exactly 10 outs twice, so I have to win this hand 1 in 10 times. I'm not really mathematically getting the right price for this. I think I just wanted to bink, you know? I think I just wanted to give myself an opportunity to bink. And it looks like Bill is willing to fire 3 bullets at me, basically a little less than half pot. You know, roughly 40% pot on each one of his bets. So, you know, all things considered, I think I'm just going to let him have it. Do I have the best hand? Sometimes, but there's no reason for me to believe that Bill's going to fire 3 barrels at 40% pot and just assume that I'm just going to fold. So, I think he has, at the very least, a 10. But just going back to this hand, obviously this isn't a hand. I wasn't getting the right price to call there with the ace-5. That was me gambling, and we're going to get into why I was gambling in a little bit. But this hand obviously is just a call from Bill. Now, there are times where you should be raising. This is not one of them. When you flop quads, you absolutely 100% need your opponent to catch up, right? So, you know, this is never a fold. I think it's poker 101. You're never folding. You're in position. Your opponent is betting into you. You're just going to let him continue to bet into you. And you're kind of hoping that he, A, has an overpair at the very least, or B, this club gives him a flush and now he feels like he's super strong. And C, maybe he has pocket 8s. So anything can happen here. So actually, this second pot-sized bet here I kind of don't like. And the reason why I don't like this from Tom is because he already has a call. You know what? I I was just about to muck this hand, but I think I'm okay with raising and getting a couple callers and just seeing the way it works out. If Tuna does end up raising here, I don't know how I'm going to react to it. I don't think I'm necessarily afraid. What are my opponents likely to have here? I think I can bet half pot here, and I'm not sure Joe the Rug is going to continue all the time. Bill might, but I just don't think I can check. I can't really feel comfortable being the pre-flop raising and then checking this board, because anybody who's raising and checking this board is more than likely dealing or having an underpair, and I really don't need to represent an underpair in this spot. So even though it's only middle pair, I think continuing is pretty standard. 9-6, I'm not even going to try and play against this Jordan. So let's just finish out what we were saying about this hand. And when Tommy bets this amount of chips, he's basically not even considering the option that Bill called behind with, say, an ace-jack of clubs. So there's a lot of times when Tom makes a pot-size bet and Bill wants to continue, that when he continues, you have to think, why would the chip leader choose to continue on a board that's 3-5-3 when he called a pre-flop raise? Are pre-flop raises calling with a 5 or a 3 in their hand? Never. The only time they're calling is if they have pocket 5s or pocket 3s. I don't think ace-3 is calling from the button, or if you know anything about Bill, he's never calling from the button with ace-3 or ace-5 when Tommy makes this raise. He's more than likely calling with suited cards, suited connectors, or trying to flop a set. So when Tommy makes a pot-sized bet of 370 on the flop and essentially gets called by Bill, he's got to look at this club and think, maybe, just maybe, I'm behind. So he's basically looking at his queens right now, Tommy is. He's looking at his queens and saying, you know what, I actually don't even know if he has a queen of clubs, but he's basically saying, I don't even care if my opponent may or may not have a flush. I'm ready to ride with my hand. He's not considering what Bill has at all, and he's not considering what Bill's calling this flop with at all. He's basically trying to punish Bill for maybe calling him with a 5 or a pair of 10s. You know, I think a lot of times in this spot with pocket queens, even if you do have the queen of clubs, I think it's very fair with the pot already being 1,000 to just check and let your opponent decide if he wants to bet. A lot of times your opponent will check behind, and then you can make a pot-sized bet on the river and still, you know, have it be as effective. Again, what are we trying to protect against by making this bet? When you make this huge bet here, maybe he's trying to protect against a club draw, specifically a club draw, but I just don't like the bet all the time. I think this bet is basically saying, you know, hey, look, I have pocket queens, and you know, there's 3 cards that are underneath, and I'm not concerned about the club, because even if I do get called, maybe I have a queen of clubs. Actually, if this turns out where he doesn't have the queen of clubs, then actually I hate this bet even more. But you know, let's just see. Obviously, Bill just calls here. So when Bill just calls, Tom really has to slow the fuck down, right? Like, why the hell would Bill just call unless he can beat? You know, I mean, when Bill calls 1,000 here, the red flags, I mean, the hairs on the back of your neck should be tingling, like, you know, oh my God, I don't, you know, there's no way I'm ahead. When this happens here, I'm check shoving 100% of the time. So, because I'm expecting wired pair to bet 300 here, and when he bets 240, I think I'm going to make a pretty substantial raise here and really put him to the test. I don't think he believes me a lot of the time, so I think he's very likely to look me up. But I think pretty much any ace is check raising in this spot, so he's right to give me credit for having an ace. And I probably could have re-raised pre-flop, but I really don't have a whole lot of chips here, and until I get above my original starting stack, I don't think I want to start to speculate with check raises where if I'm wrong, if I do flop bad, I end up, not check raises, but if I 3-bet pre-flop, say, you know, he raises to 120 and I raise to 500, you know, I'm basically risking 25-30% of my stack Actually, not 25, probably 20% of my stack, and not knowing if I'm even going to flop well, and I'm playing my hand out of position. So I really need to just see the flop with the ace, queen of hearts, which is not the nuts. You know, I could very well be up against ace, king, kings, or aces, and making sure I see a safe flop. And I think I played the hand pretty much standard. Tuna makes a standard raise here of 2.2 times the big blind. That seems to be his MO, 2.2 times the big blind. You know, with some sort of crazy number at the end of it. But anyways, obviously Tommy checks this river rate. His spider senses are tingling. He's thinking, I'm beat, this sucks. I think Tommy has to fold queens all day, every day. You know, even if Bill leads out with 1,000 chips or 800 chips, I just don't like Tommy continuing with queens because he's never considering what Bill has, and I think that's a common mistake that poker players make, is they don't consider the position that their opponent is in. There's no reason for Bill to get involved in pots at all. And if you can remember, the last couple times he's been involved in pots, he's had it. So let's give him a little bit of credit. So let's see what Bill decides to bet here. And Bill makes a huge pot size, I'll put you all in bet. This is an obvious fold. It's not an immediate fold, okay? I'm not going to say that you should insta-fold your queens. I think you should absolutely think about it. I think in this spot you think about it one street too late, but you should absolutely think about what can I beat. All right, so what is queens ahead of that calls flop, calls a huge pot size bet on turn, and when checks to pot bets to put you all in. And queens really beats ace high, and that's it. You know, is pocket tens, is Bill sitting here with pocket jacks and making this bet? Never. Is Bill making this bet with ace king? I think a lot of the time. So, you know, even if Bill sucked out and was just calling down with ace king, and also, you know, maybe he has the king of clubs or the ace of clubs in his hand, and this particular card or the ace comes out, you got to let your queens go. But unfortunately, Tom doesn't have the discipline to let his queens go. He actually didn't even have a club in his hand, and you know, he's right now, you know, sitting at home thinking, why did I play that way? Tuna, I don't think is going to be in the mood to fold, so I don't think I'm going to try and get involved in a hand with Tuna with a hand that is as mediocre as King 10. I think King Queen suited possibly, or Ace 10 suited, but King 10 suited, you know, probably only if I was sitting here on the button or in the small blind would I be playing this. There's a very likely possibility that I could raise to like 200 or 240 and get looked up over here by Joe the Rug or Dave Levy here, and this would be a perfect squeeze opportunity for Tuna to shove all his chips in the middle, because quite honestly I can't stand a raise. So if Tuna's sitting here with ace 6 or ace 7, he can absolutely put a squeeze play on and really put us all to the test, because he has the perfect amount of chips to run a squeeze play if he does feel like it's going to be profitable, and I don't take squeeze plays out of Tuna's range. So I think I'm going to not even get involved here and make a very disciplined laydown with the King 10 suited. Obviously we've all had a lot of time to think about our hands, because this player right here is timing out. I don't know why he's timing out. It seems kind of weird. Someone poke him. I think he fell asleep. Top two, we have some notes on that person as well. So yeah, we wouldn't have flopped anything anyway. And who knows, you know, Tuna could be sitting here with, you know, 6-7 and never be making this move. But I think I'm just gonna, you know, when you know that you have an opponent who's in the big blind who knows a lot about your style, your advantage, I guess, in playing that opponent heads up probably goes away. And you should really make sure that you have some strong holdings. Now, Tuna, that doesn't mean I'm not going to pick on you. It just means right now in the tournament, you know, you still have 16, 17 bigs. You're just fine. I've seen you come back from, you know, stacks that were a lot less than this. So I don't think I want to donate any chips to a good poker player with a medium holding, actually pretty weak holding of King 10 that's dominated a lot of the time from players who are going to be making calls against my raises. A little bit about what's going on tonight. I had dinner already, and I had a really big dinner. To be quite honest with you guys, I ate way too much. You ever just eat way too much fried chicken? There was a whole plate of chicken cutlets, fried chicken cutlets, stuffing, mashed potatoes, tomatoes and onions, a little bit of Merlot, which is always nice with dinner. some garlic toast. So basically a huge heavy dinner, a little bit of glass of wine is basically a recipe for a nap, right? Like when you have a big dinner like that and you have the mashed potatoes and the stuffing and the super starch, and you have a half a glass of wine with dinner and then you have another half a glass of wine after dinner, you're probably not in the mood. Maybe some people are in the mood to play poker, but this is the type of tournament that goes until what time in the morning? I think it goes until like 1 in the morning. So I was kind of on the fence on whether or not I wanted to play this tournament tonight, knowing I was going to have a big dinner. But you can't late reg for these tournaments. I think there's only 10 minutes worth of late reg. So you need to make sure that you're registering, even though you may or may not feel like playing. So right now, to be honest with you, I kind of don't feel like playing at all. Like I'm sitting here kind of like, yeah, I'm talking a lot about the hands and I'm discussing what's going on. And, sure, I'm already in and I already have the buy-in, so I'm kind of like, obviously I got to try and make the best of it. But if this tournament ends short for me, it actually might even be a blessing in disguise. I'm supposed to be playing a live tournament tomorrow night. And the live tournament's going to be like a 4 or 5 hour tournament. And I still have to wake up for work early in the morning. So I'm going to wake up for work probably sometime around 6 in the morning and then go to work all day, come home, and have to drive to this live tournament. I don't know if I'm going to have a chance to close my eyes for a little bit, but I'm definitely going to try and do that tomorrow for sure. So as far as tonight is concerned, like right now I think it's roughly 9:30, 9:20. I think I'm just going to not put a whole lot of pressure on my play. I'm not going to... I guess it's probably a pretty shitty attitude to have, now that I think about it out loud, to be in a tournament which you've already paid for and not give a shit. Because once you start down that path, it's a very slippery slope in poker to start to look at tournaments as disposable, like, I don't really give a shit. I guess they have a term called punting, where you just kind of are like, fuck it, whatever, I call with my flush draw when you probably shouldn't be calling. And I think I played a hand earlier where I had ace-5, and Bill had made a couple of very strong half-pot size bets into me, and I kind of knew that I was behind, and I think every bone in my body was behind, but or I felt like I was behind, but I did have some semi-draws to a better hand where I have outs, but I don't always have outs. My opponent can have ace-10, and when I'm sitting there with ace-5, like if an ace spikes and he also has ace-10, then it's catastrophic for me. And these are things that normally when you're on your A game you think about, right? So you're thinking, what can my opponent have? What are my outs? What are my odds to play? It looks like Tuna's going to be all in here because I doubt he's calling in. Okay, well, Tuna calls a pre-flop raise, sees a flop that's, should be connecting to a lot of what he's calling with. And it should not be something he's scared of, a jack-high board, and decides that he's not going to call. Not surprised that you get some pressure here from Dave Levy. Again, I told you, Dave is a super aggressive player. When he wants to play a hand, he's really going to put you to the test. It's a good spot for Tuna to move all in here, and he decides that he's going to do it. He senses some weakness in Dave's call, but I got to be honest with you, I think Dave makes this call here knowing that if Tuna shoves, he's going to make the call. Like, I think Dave knows Tuna's shoving and is definitely going to be calling here. So he calls with the ace-9, and actually Tuna needs to dodge a 5, a 9, or an ace, or a 7, and he's able to do so. So Tuna's able to double up through, I wouldn't say a loose call, but a kind of loose call from Dave. But again, when Dave makes this call pre-flop, I think he does so knowing that Tuna's in I'm going to shove all in mode. And when you see this right here, I think this is a really good time for me to be shoving all my chips in. And again, I don't think Dave is thinking when he just makes this min raise. I don't think he's really thinking about anything besides the fact that he just doubled up Tuna. I think it's probably the 4th or 5th time that I've decided to shove all my chips in the middle when I see an insta double-click shove immediately after one of my opponents doubles up somebody else. I think by me making this bet, I think you might have seen that move in other videos. And again, this is just another example of why I love the move. because this is a weak raise. This is obviously a weak call, and you know, King Jack. I could have Ace Deuce. I could have pretty much any two cards, and feel like I want to put all my chips in the middle, knowing that it's going to get through 95% of the time. So we started out this tournament with 5,000 chips. I haven't made it up to my starting stack yet, but I did sit out this tournament for the past, or for 40 minutes, 45 minutes to begin with. So I think I started, like my original starting stack was something along the lines of 4,100 or something, 4,140 when I first sat down. So we were able to chip up, even though we did give away some chips over to Bill, the chip leader. Tuna's going to find a way to double up and chip away, find good spots. Actually, he's in a really good spot where he has Dave Levy on his immediate right. So, you know, Dave being very active, he's going to have first crack at Dave's chips. If Dave decides to play loose, Tuna's going to be the first person who gets a chance to take advantage of that. I expect a call here from Bill, just because he's just getting such an incredible price. 100 to win 500. I expect 2 checks and a continuation bet of about 400, 450 from Dave. When Bill sort of donks out here, I don't know what to make of it. I think maybe, you know, when you have a good player who also happens to have a lot of chips, I can't exactly put Bill on a hand, because I think Bill normally isn't going to be super creative and take stabs at pots, but when he has the amount of chips where he can speculate and he really feels comfortable knowing he has, you know, all the chips at the table right now, he can just put a little half pot size bet out there on a board like Queen 7-2 where it doesn't look like it hits anything or anyone, and he's going to win that hand a lot of the time just by making that stab, and I think he's good enough of a player to know about that. So Joe the Rug, we have a note on. What are my notes on Joe the Rug? He doesn't really get out of line. I think that's what I have on my notes here. Doesn't really get out of line. So if he checks, I wouldn't be surprised. Wow. Okay. Again, I kind of really, honest to God right now, don't feel like playing cards. So if my commentary or if some of my thought processes seem a little hasty or kind of are counterintuitive, it's probably because I'm not really thinking about the long term in this game. Like, I kind of just want to double up and sit out. And, like, I want to double up to, like, 8,000 chips, right? And then I just want to sit out for an hour and, like, just kind of watch TV. I think American Idol started, like, its season or something like that. And I'm not really a big TV watcher, but I just feel like relaxing after that big meal. Truth be told, I do have about a little less than half of a glass of Merlot. So if you hear me slurping, it's because I'm after my meal. Oh wow, Tuna's all in with a 9-10. And what the fuck? Oh my god! Tuna decides this is not a Tuna move, okay? Do not try that at home, kids. Do not try that at home, especially against King 10. Like, especially against this guy's specific hand, Dave's specific hand. He decides he's going to get it all in with 2 unders and an open-ender draw. So if he is up against a jack or a queen, you know, you have to have a massive read or feel like you have some serious fold equity to get Dave to fold an open-ended straight draw, and also to be drawing to essentially 1 out. Because, well, I guess it's not 1 out because a king actually gives him a straight too. So, but you know, Dave had Tuna in bad shape, and he probably was thinking that he didn't. Dave was probably thinking he was behind, and when he actually looks down and sees that Tuna's ahead, I mean, how does this hand end up playing out? Not that it really matters too much because Tuna was sort of a short stack. Well, no, Tuna wasn't even a short stack. Tuna's sitting here with 20 bigs. So when Tuna calls with a 9-10, Tuna, we're gonna have to talk, man. I don't like this call with a 9-10. I really don't. I mean, you really have to think. you really have to think that you have a very big edge against Dave's range here. But Dave is a very active player, so he could be making this move with any two cards. But 9-10 offsuit, I'm not a fan of the call, to be quite honest with you. And also, look, I mean, you've invited somebody else in, so now you've got to play a multi-way pot where you don't even have position on everybody. And you essentially have to flop 2 pair in order to feel comfortable continuing with your hand. Let's just see here. Ace-9, top 2 limps. I think I'm just going to raise. And I think I'm just going to raise big, and hopefully top 2 decides he wants to shove. I think I'm prepared to call a shove from top 2. Again, I told you I'm not really thinking the long term right now. I think when I raise, I'm just going to get aggressive. So when I get a call here from top 2, I think a lot of the time he's probably just folding to my next bet. So I think I can just think, bet 630. And, you know, maybe top 2 hit something, maybe he didn't, but, you know, I don't think I'm ever just checking behind. This is not a board I'm really afraid of all the time. Oh, man, what does he have? What does he friggin' have? I think I'm going to take my time here and fold. Obviously, I'm never calling, right? It's not like this is just a straight Hollywood act, but I'm definitely going to take my time here and just fold. And you know, I don't know. You know, I don't know why he felt like doing that. I'm never putting him on a bluff in that spot. If he's going to call a big raise pre-flop and then check to me and then shove when I make a half pot size bet, I just have to give him credit for a big pair, or at least he hit a jack. Like, at least maybe he calls with king jack in that spot. But I'm never putting him on a bluff there. So top 2, if you have the capability to call a big bet pre-flop and then check shove against the raiser, then, you know, congratulations, very, very profitable way to play your hand out of the big blind. But I don't think it's going to stop me from, you know, making big raises. I think I'm perfectly fine making big raises. Because I still do have some chips to play with. This tournament is not going our way right now, but again, I actually don't even really give a shit. It's just a bad, like, I have such a really shitty attitude about this poker game right now, and it has nothing to do with me just losing. I think I said it before. Like, I'm just so full, and I don't even know if this will ever get posted. This video will ever get posted, but I do want to, at the very least, have it for my own personal hand review, so I can take a look at the way some people are playing against me. I am going to take a note against top 2 that also called my 5x bet pre when he was in the big blind. Check shoves, jack high board, no draws. Had to give him credit for a big hand. Laid it down. Granted, I was bluffing. So anyways, I mean, if top 2 starts to get in a spot where he's making a lot of big calls pre-flop, then I think I know I can not give him as much credit as I did now, but there was really no reason for him to do what he did unless he really feels very good about his hand. So Tuna has gone from 2,000 chips to 6,000 chips in roughly 20 minutes, and that's kind of his MO. That's kind of what he does. So in this spot, I think I'm just going to flat call. Disser Dan doesn't seem like somebody who gets out of line too often. When I flop a pair here, I don't think I can ever just check. So I think I'm just going to make a little min bet here. I actually want to make it look like it's more calculated, so I'm going to bet 160. I could min bet, but I think a calculated bet always gets more respect than a bet that is exactly one big blind. So, you know, I do think that I'm in good shape by making a calculated bet. And again, I had a middle pair, so it's not like I was in there completely bluffing. When wired pair Frey decides he's going to limp here, you know, I think Ugly Tuna and Bill both have a very good read on Dave, just from live games and from playing against Dave on a regular basis. I know that Dave plays at a lot of Tuna's events, Bill plays at a lot of Tuna's events, and these two end up at tables a lot of the time. This would be a great spot for me to go all in if I had the balls to do it, but right now I just don't. A6 really doesn't flop well. I'd rather be making a move with Queen Jack than A6. Not to mention, I probably make this move a lot more often if I feel like I have a read on any one of these raises, but since everybody's just kind of limped in the pot, there can be some trickiness, some chicanery that's happening here, and I could be shoving all in and be getting snapped off by a really good hand like Ace King or Ace Queen. You know, it's not very often that that happens, but it's definitely a possibility. Also, when Bill is in the hand, he does have the chips to call me late if he really honestly wants to. This min raise, I kind of think I like this min raise a lot. It's going to slow down Joe the Rug here all the time. I think this 4 slows him down a lot of the time, but I do like this min raise no matter what he has. I don't know why Joe the Rug felt like he had to make a bet. I think he was just slowing down top 2 for making a larger bet, but he has to know he's behind. I think he has to know he's behind. So, you know, I actually don't give Joe the Rug a whole lot of I don't give Joe the Rug, sorry, a whole lot of credit for knowing what he's doing and why he's doing it. So I think I've stopped trying to read him. I have some pretty passive players that are here on my left. I can actually pick on Joe the Rug a little bit more comfortably, knowing that even if I do lose an all-in to him, I still have about 1,000 chips left to play this tournament. Not that that's a lot, it's still about 10 bigs, but he's not going to be the one that knocks me out of the tournament, so I'm fine with that. Again, I probably could be getting a little bit more active. Top 2 is limping a whole lot of pots. I'm actually going to put that in my notes. Limps a lot of pots in early position. If I start to see that in other tournaments, then I'm going to start to try and exploit his limps. This all-in bet on a 400 chip pot, you know, again, another example of what I was saying about how I don't think Dave is crazy, but I think his style of poker is definitely super friggin' aggressive. So, not quite sure what he thinks he's doing. When top 2 just limps here, I think I can raise to 480 and get a lot of my opponents to fold and maybe go heads up against top 2 here. Top 2 has a pretty good history of just calling, and we'll figure out what happens after. I think I'm going to check this behind, just because I don't want to get blown off my hand, and I do have a little bit of showdown value. So if I just snap check, I think it looks bad, so I think I'm going to think, check. And there is some weakness in me tank checking. There's actually a lot of weakness in me tank checking, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a bet here. But I really didn't flop anything that I really do like. So I think I'm just going to check behind here, and it looks like we're probably just going to lose. But we actually end up having the same hand, so hey, why not? So look, I mean, he played the hand the exact same way I played the hand. What do you want me to do? Except I'm never limping from early position with ace-8, but we have seen this opponent limp. I probably, maybe, after being checked 2-3 times, could have made a bet. But I'm not on my A game. I'll be honest with you right now, I'm not on my A game at all. I'm on my C game. And my C game says, whenever I have a pair, I'm going to go to showdown. So I personally am not thinking at 100% capacity. I got to figure out how I can snap out of this. Like, I wonder if I can use this opportunity. Looks like Tom watched my video, which is always fun. I'd be interested to see what Tom has to say. Tom says, I particularly like the part heads up where you burped really loud. Not a pro move, I guess. Point taken. You're gonna love this video because I actually could give two shits right now if I'm burping on camera. I don't think I even want to be involved in this pot, even with a small pair. I've got zero equity, and all hearts continue on all bets, so I just don't think I'm going to. Yeah, I just don't think I'm going to get involved. Top 2 is super call-y, you know, doesn't like to... You know what style Top 2... Top 2 is kind of like I feel like the Russian in Rounders that is frustrated with Matt Damon when it's like, check, check, check. All the time you just check. That's kind of how I feel when I play against Top 2. I just don't know how to react to his weakness. So he's frozen me. So this bet is actually super strong. Represents a significant amount of Tuna's chips. So I'd be surprised if Tuna calls with just one pair. Although Tuna might look him up thinking it's a busted heart draw. So, you know, but when Tuna starts to talk like this, he normally tends to fold. He gets, you know, when he starts to, you know, go in the chat. Because if he was really thinking about calling, do you really think he'd take the time to chat? So I think this is kind of Hollywood. But you know, when he takes the time to chat 2 or 3 different lines, you know, he's obviously not thinking about the hand. He's just thinking, crap, I have to fold. Joe the Rug limps here, and if this guy limps, I am absolutely 100% moving all my chips in the middle. I just don't feel like Joe the Rug is very strong in this spot, and I was wrong. Top 2 may decide to call, but I'm just way off. I need to bink a king or kings and deuces. Oh, that's fine. I lose. So Joe the Rug does happen to be very strong, and, you know, what do you want me to do? Doesn't look like I'm going to last very much longer in this tournament, so fuck it. Tuna makes this raise. There's a possibility I could just shove on Tuna's raise. Pocket 3 is really not all that strong. What do I want to do? I think I'll fold. I actually, Tom, if you can't wait for this video, you're going to be a little bit disappointed, I think. Just because, like I said, I'm really on my C game right here, and I'm kind of going through the motions. I mean, you would think if I really didn't give a shit, I would just go all in. But secretly, I kind of do want to last a little bit longer because I'm not going to bed right this second. I'm probably closer to going in bed around 10, 11 o'clock, but I don't know. Pocket aces, obviously a good hand to be moving on with. I think if we get a caller here, we might decide to shove all in. Shove a lover. Shove a lover. Lover, lover, this is gonna look bad. It's gonna look bad. It's gonna fucking look bad. It's gonna look bad. Pocket aces. I got pocket aces. Give me my pocket aces. Tuna's gonna call. Top two's gonna call. Come on, top two. Triple me up here, bud. I might even flop top two. Oh, man. I don't see how I survive. Always a sweat, Tuna. Oh, man. Alright, so anyways, we are sort of back. Not really, you know. Yeah, Tuna should have definitely just knocked me out. The poker gods were smiling upon me. They must have heard my prayers. They must have heard my prayers saying, hey, look, you know, I still would like to stay awake until about 11 o'clock and pass out right around 11. So let's set a goal right now. Let's stay in the tournament. I'll find a way to give it back. Let's stay in the tournament till 10:45. All right, that gives me 1 hour. What time is it in the recording right now? 52 minutes I've been playing. Let's stay awake until 1:52, and at 1:52 I will go all in, and no questions asked. Right, so no questions asked. At 1 hour 52 minutes into this broadcast, I will go all in. I think I'm just going to put top two to the test here. Maybe he wants to call because he has been calling me a lot. But I guess not, because the last hand I showed down was pocket aces. So it does look like I have a little bit of credit now, which is kind of cool. But again, 152, I will be shoving all of my chips all in. That'll probably be when we're 12-handed, and it'll probably be up against the chip leader, and I'll probably have a hand like, you know, 10-6 and just fucking suck it up. Tuna making this raise, I don't think, you know, Tuna's in a very unique spot because he's one of the few people who's actually watched the past couple videos, so he does understand some of the strategy that I have actually firsthand, because here I am explaining it to you. So I'm not really upset that I'm telling people what my strategy is, because essentially anytime you make a video, you can't get upset if somebody watches it. Right, so you make a video, you post it, you can't be mad that somebody watches it and learns a little bit about your game. However, you know, maybe Tuna knows that I'm folding and never defending a lot of the time because I've been expressing, but that's what I've been doing. What did Tuna end up showing? I think Tuna showed one of his cards, which would be fun. Maybe he has like ace-6 or something, I don't know. Oh, he shows an ace. Alright. King Jack here, I think I can, you know, if somebody limps, I think I can just shove. What do I want to do in this spot? Oh my god. I mean, can I ever really flop well? Like, what are my options here? If I just call, right? Oh, I think I'm just going to fold. If I just call, you know, I have 2,400 chips left. I mean, this would have been an amazing flop, but I don't trust this right here, this 375 bet pre. Again, my whole rationalization is that the big stack in this spot does not have to get involved. Like, there's no reason for him to be getting involved in pots at all. So when he does actually get involved in pots, he has King Jack crushed a lot of the time. So I just don't see a reason to try and push back. I mean, there's a little bit of added value with top 2 here, so a squeeze might have gotten through. Like, say I'm up against ace 10 here, ace 10 suited, and Bill just doesn't have the discipline to fold ace 10 suited. And I think a lot of players don't. It's not like I'm mad at you, Bill. Like, if you don't have the discipline to fold ace 10 suited, a lot of players don't. And you especially have the amount of chips where you can actually raise and, you know, show that you're still a viable player at this table. So I'm really not mad. But so if he does have ace 10, then I think my squeeze gets through a lot of the time. However, he does have the amount of chips where he can decide to call, and if he does decide to call with any ace, I'm in a whole lot of trouble. Not to mention this call right here from top 2, you know, really not the ideal spot for me, I don't think. King Jack, I think it looks a lot prettier when it's suited, and I think I made a pretty disciplined laydown. If nothing else, Bill has some pretty consistent raises here. I kind of like his raise sizing with the blinds at 75, 150. When he's making it 375, he's making exactly 2.5x. Sometimes on PokerStars, you can preset your raise sizes to a specific amount based on, or a specific percentage of the big blinds. So you can raise it to 2.5 big blinds, 3 big blinds, 5 big blinds, and have that as a preset. So you don't actually have to go into your little board here and enter a number. You can just click 2.5 bigs and click bet, and it's very easy and very convenient. And it also allows you to be very consistent with your percentage, with your raises. So that 2.5 big blinds will be a different amount when the blinds go up to, say, 100, 200, or 150, 300. It'll be proportional to that. So it looks like he is raising with ace 4 suited, so that actually is in his range. So when I said his range was somewhere around ace 10, when he's making a race at 375, and then he comes back and does it 2 hands later with an ace 4 suited, you know, I think he's got to have at least an ace in his range. So I do like folding my King Jack a little bit more, knowing that. But it is also interesting to note that he doesn't have to get involved, and subsequently, by getting involved the past couple hands, he's lost, you know, 2,000-3,000 chips when he didn't really even need to get involved. I mean, all of us are trying to get to Bill's 15K chip status. You know, Tuna would love to get there. All of us. I mean, you know, basically, Dister Dan has been the most quiet, and that's because Dister Dan recognizes that she really doesn't need to be getting involved, and there's a whole shit ton of action here at this table. I am very happy that I did get the courtesy double up here, but I don't think I can just sit back with 2,700 chips and expect that I'm going to survive for the next hour, so I'm trying to figure out who I can pick on. And Joe the Rug called my all-in with ace-queen. He limps with ace-queen, calls my all-in with ace-queen. So I think he's the type of player that I can probably pick on, because I don't think he's going to be calling me with a lot less than ace-queen. I don't really have a good reason to think that. I just, for some reason, I feel like I can pick on this player. Dister Dan, on the other hand, even though, you know, she has a lot of chips, I don't think she's going to be defending a lot unless she has, you know, a stone cold really good hand. I hate this min bet here, but again, I've seen a lot of people take this line where they limp in position on all the other players. It gets folded around to them, and then they make a min bet, and sometimes that gets through. But top 2 doesn't look like he wants to fuck around, so it's not going to work against him. In the big blind here with an ace high, I don't know what I want to do. I think I can defend. If top 2 decides that he's going to call, I think I can shove very profitably. Not sure if Bill's going to want to get involved, but I do think that Bill has seen that I do have... Okay. Well, we're racing here. I do need to hit a 7 or an ace. Or a 10. And I don't. GG. So, again, didn't have an opportunity to make it. I'm not mad at this guy's call with pocket 5s, not mad at his raise with pocket 5s. So, you know, I just figured that if he's raising and there's a call, there's 700 chips in the middle, I have ace high. It's just a good spot for me to try and accumulate some chips. And there's a small percentage of the time that my all-in bet goes through. I'm actually in really good shape as I am racing against pocket fives, but not really feeling it tonight. So I don't know. We'll see if this video actually hits the stores, hits the shelves. Thanks for watching. You probably didn't learn a goddamn thing here today, except make sure that you are on your A game when you jump into these tournaments. All right. Talk to you soon.